Salutations all, and welcome back. Thank you for tuning into this little video of ours. What are we doing today? So, it's a special time of the year. This time of the year always brings back nightmarish flashbacks of brunch buffets and just tireless pouring of mimosas and anyway, war stories, right? So, Mother's Day is right around the corner. I should have got this out to you sooner, but you know me. Today we are going to do a classic brunch country club buffet dish. We are going to do eggs Benedict. Now, not going to lie to you, the most war torn, battle hardened chefs out there are lying to you if they don't fear the hollandaise just a little bit. If it's not something that you do all of the time, it can be extremely daunting, but it doesn't have to be, right? We have found a lot of ways with technology to cheat the system, if you will, and we're going to talk about all that good stuff, right? So let's get into this adventure. All right, so we're going to take our time and really go over this ingredient listing for all aspects of what we're doing today. And we're going to be doing the eggs Benedict with some roasted mushrooms because I've got them, right? And it makes a really nice complete dish. Very earthy, very hearty. Keep you full for the day for all that glorious, beautiful Mom's Day as you're running around. So, all right. So, of course, for the Benedict aspect, you got to have your English muffins, right? That's a given. English muffins. I've got some eggs for poaching. We're going to do the poached eggs. And then I've got some eggs sitting over here on the stove, actually on the top of the oven, that are coming up getting warm. All right, and I'll explain why I'm doing that. You're going to want, of course, the mushrooms. And I've got some baby portobellos here. All right, probably won't need all of that. I've got some butter for our hollandaise. All right. And so the butter thing. It's going to be your choice, right? It's going to depend on your budget, what you're willing to spend. Not all butter is created equal, all right? That's probably the easiest way I can give that to you. So do a little research, right? Of course, if you're not doing something super special for somebody super special, you might want to go with that cheap stick. But so we're going to do this. I've got 2 sticks of butter here. I've got some white wine vinegar for my poaching liquid. I've got some rosemary here for my mushrooms. I've got salt and pepper, of course, for the whole shebang-a-bang. A little cayenne, now that's optional for the hollandaise. And a lemon, which will also go into the hollandaise. So let me go back. For the hollandaise, we're going to need egg yolks, right? So you separate those out. We're going to need some egg yolks. We're going to do that here in a second. The reason that I've got them sitting on the stove. So the traditional way of doing a hollandaise is brutal, honestly. Not going to lie to you. It takes a lot of that wrist strength, a lot of time and practice to do it properly. I don't know a whole lot of chefs that are experts at it. I used to know one that was a magician on a hollandaise who's no longer with us. But, so if you want to do this traditional way, you're going to take your egg yolks, you're going to need a bowl and a pot of boiling water, and you're going to need your clarified butter as well. And we're going to have to beat the crap out of that as you're pouring in the butter very slowly. It's very, very tiresome. Technology and the internet have shown us that we can cheat the classic way of doing things. So today I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use my handy-dandy hand mixer here and a vessel, right, like that. You can also do it in the blender. It's all good. Now, if you're going to do it this way and you're going to cheat and not do it over some boiling water, you want to get those eggs as warm as possible, all right? As warm as possible. It's vital, because if you don't, you're using cold eggs. When you go to pour your butter in, it's going to cool your butter. It's going to cause your sauce to separate or not emulsify at all, and then it looks really gross, and no one will like you, all right? So that's why I've got the eggs on the stovetop getting nice and warm. All right. Moving forward. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to prep up the mushrooms. Very simple way that we're going to do that. We're literally just going to cut them in half, maybe even quarter some of the larger ones. We're going to hit them with a little bit of salt and pepper, a splash of olive oil, something like just a little bit, just to coat them, right? Because Mushrooms are very porous. They're going to absorb all of that liquid that you put on them, and they're not going to give you the desired effect once we go to cooking them if you put too much of the liquid in that. All right. Now, also, and I forgot, I'm so sorry. Of course, Eggs Benedict, right? Canadian bacon, eh? I'm not a fan of Canadian bacon, so I'm going to just use American bacon or just bacon. I mean, this is Texas, so I mean, you could put brisket on that bad boy, right? I mean, it's trendy, right? Right? Yeah. You can really put whatever you want protein-wise. I'm going to do some crispy bacon, and yeah, it's going to be delicious. So let's get into this prep. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, and this is going to take some timing, right? We're going to have to plan all this out so it comes all out together. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our butter and we're going to put it into a pot and put it onto the stove on a low heat. We want to just slowly melt that because we want to separate the milk fats from the rest of the butter. We want to clarify the butter, right? Now, a couple different ways you can go about that. If you've got a glass dish like this, you can put the butter in the dish. You can put it in the microwave, heat it up for like 30 to 60 seconds till it's melted. Then you bring it out, set it out, and let it separate. And then what will happen is you'll see the fats, the milk fats will drop to the bottom. If you remember when we browned the butter a few videos back, we were browning, we were pulling all those milk solids out. We just want what's left. You can also go and get something called ghee. You can find that at any of your Indian or African market stores. It's a beautiful thing. That works as well. So to save on dishes, you could do it in a dish like this and just heat it up slow. We're going to use this later for the pouring. If you're going to do it the traditional way, I would use like a squeeze bottle or, you know, something with a lip for the pouring because it's very hard to pour and whisk and adjust for the heat all at the same time. All right, so we're going to go with 2 sticks of butter, stick and a half if you'd like. And I'm going to do this in the pot on the stove so that I can be doing something else. And remember, we're going to do this on really low heat. You just want to melt it slow and let it begin to separate. And we'll look at that as we get to that point so you'll see exactly what that looks like. This is an unsalted butter. So, of course, we're going to be adding a little bit of salt to the dish as we move forward. You can always get a salted butter. Taste it before you start making your sauce so you can decide whether or not you're going to want to add more salt, right? All right, and then we're going to go in as we're waiting on that to melt with our mushrooms. Let's see. Get them out of there. And let me see if I can't give y'all a better view, yeah? All right, so like I said, all I'm going to do with these mushrooms is cut them in half, stems and all, right? They can be eaten that way. So stems and all there. And really you can cut them how you like. If you want to quarter them, make them smaller bites, you know, it's really up to you. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Just depends on how you want the presentation, right? We eat with our eyes. We eat with our eyes, so we want things to be pretty. And this is a special occasion, right? So we really want to impress mom. Or wife, or, you know, whatever. We want to impress everybody. So, while this is being prepared here, we've got our butter melting on the stove. Remember, nice and slow. I've got my oven cranked up to 475. It's going to be for these mushrooms, because I want it to be a quick thing in and out of there. I don't want to cook them for too long. I want them to still hold some body, some bite. Right? I think that is enough. And remember, I said on the olive oil, I mean, just a drizzle. I mean, just a little bit. All we're really trying to do is get them a little bit wet on the outside, a little moist, so they'll hold some of that seasoning, right? So I put my thumb over the hole there, just give it a little bit. We're going to toss it around. We're going to do a little bit of salt, just a hair, right? Because you can only imagine if somebody gets a mushroom without the hollandaise, or without the eggs and bacon, they want that to be as flavorful as the rest of the dish, right? So we season everything. We season it all. All right, I'm going to go on with just a scotch. of garlic this go round, just a scotch. See that? That's a scotch. Right off the blade tip. Alright. And we are going to chop up a little bit of this rosemary. Throw that in there. So think about everything that, all the flavors, right, that are going into this dish. You've got the super rich buttery flavor of the hollandaise with a touch of lemon. That's going to go into that as well. The cayenne is going to add just a little bit of warmth, right? We're not going to add enough that it's spicy unless you want it that way, but it just adds a little bit of warmth. Believe it or not, putting cayenne in a lot of things, I guess if you want to say scientifically, it really helps out with the flavors of your food. Remember, your taste buds are pores, right? They open and close, they open and close. And so when heat is introduced, just like when we're washing our faces, when heat is introduced, those pores open up, and it allows you to taste food more fully. So you can taste something from the tip of your tongue all the way to the back of your throat. When there's a little bit of cayenne or some kind of heat element that's added to that. Not just the physical heat, but the flavor side as well. And it's something that you just subconsciously, like, you won't know the heat's there per se, but your mouth does. Alright, so we're going to throw in just a little bit of the rosemary. So we'll have the earthiness of the mushrooms, we'll have the salty of the bacon, a little bit of the lemon and the hollandaise, the butter. I mean, this is a big thing, right? It's a big deal. Alright, we're going to toss that around, get that all well and coated. Get our hands cleaned up, and we're going to move on to the next part. Alright, y'all. So we've got our clarified butter here, right? I did my best to pull out all of those milk solids, right? Got those separated. Now I'm going to set this bowl into my poaching liquid for the time being because I want to keep this butter as hot as possible. So I'm going to put it into my poaching liquid as I am separating these eggs. Okay, so we've got our clarified butter sitting in our poaching liquid, keeping that hot, right? Because the way we're doing this, that butter has to be as hot as we can keep it. All right, now again, if you're doing this the old school method over a boiling pot with a nice bowl and a whisk, then that rule doesn't apply to you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and separate our eggs. We're going to keep our egg whites, of course, because why waste? Maybe you can make a nice pavlova later on, or a little meringue or something with those egg whites, a little omelet in the morning. All right. And remember, so we're using our blender today. We're going to go ahead and into this handy dandy measuring cup. We've got my cast iron on the stove getting good and hot for our mushrooms. Work with me now. Now, one thing too to think about, separating the eggs. If you have trouble with that, it's easier to separate the eggs when they are cold because the egg whites are a little tighter, right? But then remember, you need to get these bad boys warmed up, okay? So, we've got the eggs separated. The yolk's there. I'm going to rinse my hands off, and I'm also going to get a tablespoon of water, warm water, to put in there with our egg yolks. Not gonna lie to you, I don't know why we do the water. It's just how I've been trained to do it. Trying to be a good little soldier, just do as I was told. All right, we've got our yolks in, right? We're gonna take our lemon. I would do about, maybe a quarter squeeze at a time. We're going to use a little bit of the acid to get us started, but after that, it's going to be about that flavor, so you'll want to taste it. I'm going to get that in there. We're going to season this with a little bit of our salt. Bang, bang, right in there. And a little of our cayenne. The pepper's going to go in last at the very end. Just doing a touch of the cayenne. And now, let's see if we can blend this bad boy up. Okay, now before we get in there with our butter, we're going to blend up the yolks with a little bit of water and that lemon juice that we put in there. So we're going to hit this. Remember, the same rules apply if you're using a full-size blender. You're just going to, you want to make sure that everything's incorporated. So all right, just a couple seconds there. And here comes the tricky part. Now, the key to emulsification, right? You want to pour in your fats slow, but fast, but slow, but fast, but slow and gentle. You want to give this time to really mix in, okay? So once I get going, I'm going to just slowly start adding it in. If you don't have a vessel that you can pour from, you can use a spoon and just spoon it in slowly. As you're spooning it in, as you're spooning in those fats, that butter, right? It's going to, of course, the volume is going to increase, duh. And what's going to happen is it's going to start to thicken slightly as well. If you get to a point where it's too thick, no worries. You just get a little hot water, and you add a little hot water at a time till you get it back to the thickness that you want. Okay? So, get this butter. Let's get it popping. Try to pour it in as slowly as you can. This is also how you make mayonnaise. Just throwing that out there. All right. Feels right. Feels real right. All right, let me put this bad boy aside and let's look at where we're at on this sauce. All right, so we increased our volume. Look at the thickness on that. Like cocoa butter. All right. Now, you can whip more air into it. Like I said, the gentleman that I spoke of earlier, Chef Dale, I don't know the magic that man would work, but I swear he could whip a hollandaise till it was almost like whipped cream. Incredible. Maybe he spent a lot of time by himself. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to add a little bit of pepper, just a touch of pepper to that. Now, hollandaise can be kept at room temperature. And you're like, Lucky, but there's eggs in there. I know. I don't make the rules. It just is what it is. Let's give this a taste. Not bad. Buttery. You get the bite from the lemon. A little bit of that richness from the yolk as well. I'm going to hit it with a, well, actually I'm not. I was going to do a little more salt, but we're doing bacon and not Canadian bacon. All right, so we don't really need to do that. And again, the hollandaise can be kept at room temperature. All right. Now, if you want to store it for another day, you can put it in the refrigerator. Two things keep in mind. This is basically just butter with egg in it. So as it cools, it's going to get really good and stiff. It's going to be like peanut butter in the refrigerator. You can reheat a hollandaise. All right, you can. However, let's really get into this, okay? I just want you to understand the seriousness about what we're about to talk about, okay? So, This delicious sauce, right? You want to save it for another day. Cool. No problem. You're free to do that. When you go to reheat this, I advise you to make sure that it's in a dish that you can set into some warm water and heat it slowly like that. Do not put it back into the microwave or you're going to get a disgusting project in your microwave, all right? You're going to heat this super duper slow, and honestly, I would just stand there and stir it the whole time. Preferably with a whisk or a wooden spoon. Just heat it slow in some water. I would prefer not directly onto the heat. It'll be super hard. Because what's going to happen is, remember, these are eggs, right? And they're not completely cooked. So as you begin to heat it, you're going to cook those eggs. Unless you want scrambled butter eggs, which doesn't sound terrible. It's actually not good when you do it with this hollandaise, all right? So we are going to keep this kind of close to the stove to keep it somewhat warm. And we're going to get into our mushrooms, all right? All right, so as you can see from the pale circle there, my cast iron is good and hot, right? But before I get in with the mushrooms, I want to go ahead and toast my English muffin here. Obviously, I don't want to burn it, so I'm not going to put it right in the middle. I'm going to try to go to the outside there. Just give it a quick little toast. If you don't toast an English muffin, it's kind of like trying to eat toasted, like it's like cardboard. Like it's hard. It's chewy, but it's firm. It's just not good. All right. So please do your loved ones a favor. Toast your muffins. Pardon me. All right. So we're gonna get this toasted just a hair. I don't want to do it in the griddle. I don't want to, waste any more time or dishes because I'm the only one here. So I have to wash them. If someone else was here, I would gladly toast them on the griddle. It's all about equal opportunity. All right. You're going to pull these bad boys out. All right. Now, remember, we already seasoned the mushrooms, right? A little salt, a little pepper, some garlic, rosemary, and then just a hair of the oil. So I'm not going to put any oil into the pan. We're just going to go right in with those mushrooms. All that goodness out of the bowl. Remember also that I've got the oven set at 475, right? 475. I know that's high. Your oven might be a little better than mine, but I wanted a lot of heat because this is going to be a very quick in and out situation. So we're going to give these a little bit of time up here on this direct heat. I just want to make sure everyone's enjoying their time in there. Ooh, we're already getting some good color on it, right? Right off the stove and into the oven. Love that smell. All right. Now, not going to lose another one. We're not going to lose another one. All right. Let's poach an egg. Now, for the poaching of the egg. So this is just regular plain old Jane old tap water right now. But we're going to add a little bit of this white wine vinegar. It does not have to be white wine vinegar. It can just be regular vinegar. I don't know who really uses that other than cleaning with. It can be champagne. It can be whatever, right? Just a little bit of acid there. So let's say about a tablespoon. And again, that just helps to take that stupid thing off. All right, that's going to help us to keep that egg together, keep that yolk together. Now, we don't necessarily need this water to be at a rolling boil, okay? Because that's just going to make it more difficult to track that yolk once it hits, and you don't want all that movement. What we're going to do is, see how it's starting to simmer around those edges there? That's where we want to be. That's where we want to live. We want to live right there. All right. Give me just a second, y'all. We're going to make this happen. Okay. So, remember, where are we at? We've got our English muffin toasted. We've got our hollandaise made and set aside. We've got our mushrooms in the oven. They've been there for about 3 minutes at this point. We've got our water good and hot, right? That's our acidulated water, our water with the vinegar in it for the poaching. I had to go and get us a perforated spoon or a slotted spoon, something to let that water out, right? All right. I went ahead and chopped up our bacon for our topping. And this is what we're going to do. All right. So we don't want a rolling boil, right? What we do want is to create a vortex, right? Sounds so sci-fi, so high tech, so high speed. Vortex. We just want that water swirling around. Now the reason that we do this is so that when we drop our egg in, it stays in tight formation. We don't have to go chasing all the egg whites everywhere because presentation is key. Remember, we eat with our eyes. All right. So even if it was all sloppy and all over the place, it would still be a poached egg, but people will look at you differently. All right. So we're gonna get that swirling around. Boom, boom, boom. And then we crack our egg right in the middle. We let it do its thing. Time-wise on this, just off the top of my head, to be honest with you, you're probably looking at, a solid 90 seconds to a full 2 minutes or so. Some people will say, oh, when the egg is floating. Some will say, whatever. I would say give it a solid 90 seconds. You'll actually be able to tell. Now, the egg will rise up as all those whites do what they do. It just sounds so terrible when I say it like that. When all of the outer egg proteins, oh, all right, and it will start to float. What we want is we want all of the outer egg proteins, we want all the whites cooked, and we want the yolk to still be yolky and delicious and runny. Okay, I know people are making faces. You don't like the egg yolks. I mean, that's your problem, communist. All right, let's give that water a little swirl. And then again, remember, you're going to want something to let that water out so you're not putting vinegar water all over your plate. And I really don't know how much time it is. I know somebody's clock watching. But I feel like we are about done there. About donezo. So, let's do the delicate process of getting this bad boy out. Get right up under that yolk. Easy peasy. All right, we're going to cut this water. We're going to let this drain, and then we're going to plate up. We're going to get our mushrooms out. They should be good and done at this point. And we're going to get this dish together, y'all. All right, let's build this bad boy. All right, so a couple ways we can do this is we're going to do this with the mushrooms, right? But we want that to be a separate aspect, right? We don't want it completely lost in what we're doing here. Now, traditionally, obviously, you'd have your seared Canadian bacon there on the bottom, toasted off real nice. Get our hollandaise, drizzle it across the top. Our crunchy bacon. I hear those mushrooms still sizzling in the cast iron over here. Maybe just right there across the end. A little highlight. Sorry, force of habit, y'all. Force of habit. All right. And then, of course, you can hit it with the classic parsley topper. But that's it right there. Now, you're saying, all right, Lucky, that's done, but is it really done? Is it? All right, well, there's only one way to find out, right? Let's break into this thing. Right for that yolk. Poached egg. Eggs Benedict. Easy, baby. All right, y'all. So that was Eggs Benedict with bacon instead of Canadian bacon, eh? Some roasted rosemary and garlic mushrooms on the side there, right? We got that hollandaise. Now, the hollandaise is multi-use. I mean, it's butter, right? It can go on anything. Put it on chicken. You can put it on fish. You can put it on vegetables. It is a well-rounded sauce to be used in every aspect of your life. No, but all jokes aside, guys, I know there's a lot of moving parts on that one, but it's a special occasion, right? So you got to put in the effort. Put in the effort. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know if there's anything in particular that you want to see, and I'm all about that. We're about that life around here. Thank you for coming on another kitchen adventure.